What if the person your whole town called a witch was the only one who could save your child? What if the cure you chased across continents was growing in your own backyard the entire time? And what if the price of a miracle wasn't money or fame, but a simple act of kindness you barely remember giving? I'm going to tell you a story that still shakes me when I say it out loud. Not because it's loud or flashy, but because it's raw, ordinary, painfully human. It begins in two worlds that should never have touched, and collides in a moment that rewrote everything. First picture: a private gym big enough to swallow a house. Floors polished like glass machines humming with quiet arrogance, sunlight sliding across steel. That's where Chief Peter stands, a man who has wrestled profits from markets and bent boardrooms to his will, yet looks small for once because beside him is his entire heart. His 17-year-old daughter, Princess, in a custom chair. No scars, no twisted bones, no reason that anyone can see. And still, she has never walked a single step. She watches him steady, stronger than most grown men I know. "Daddy, you don't have to push me," she says, and he answers too fast. "I'm not pushing, I'm just trying." But the truth hangs in the air like the smell of lemon cleaner and failure. If you've ever been helpless for someone you love, you know exactly how that tastes. It's metal on your tongue. It stings behind your eyes. You pretend to be brave because someone has to be, and then the ache finds you anyway. Now shift the lens miles away, not just by distance, but by dignity. A girl named Amaka, 16, hands stained green from pounding leaves in a wooden mortar heat, settling on her shoulders like a punishment. Her stepmother barks orders from the doorway, dangling dinner like it's a prize. The neighbors give the kind of attention you give a stray dog that keeps returning to your porch. Pity if they're in a good mood, fear when they're not. Here's the thing about Amaka, and I'm calling it a problem, only because that's how they talk about her. She has a gift. People come to her with rashes, fevers, pain, and she crushes leaves, boils roots, tells them to drink water, stay out of the sun, rest, and they get better. Not always, not magic, but enough that rumors wake up. Witch. It starts as a whisper and ends as a sentence. Yeah, that happened. She thumps a choking boy exactly right. He spits and breathes, and 2 days later his mother swears Amaka used spirit water. Folks don't like what they can't control, you know what I mean? So we have two currents pulling toward each other. A father who tried everything money can buy, and a girl who owns nothing but stubborn faith. Then something knocks on both doors at once. A dream. That night, Amaka sees a man in a black suit kneeling beside a girl in a chair, and in the dream, she steps forward and says, clear as a bell, I can make her walk. She wakes with the words pounding in her chest. She tells her stepmother, who slaps the vision right out of the air. Meanwhile, inside a mansion built like a fortress with guards and cameras, Chief Peter stares at medical folders stacked like bad weather. South Africa, India, Switzerland, Dubai. Specialists with letters crowding the ends of their names, scans and injections, and clever phrases that mean we don't know. The last one said her condition defies science, which is a polite way to hand your grief back to you. Princess rolls in bright eyes, tired, and says she dreamed she was walking on the grass toward him. Don't say that he begs, because hope hurts after a while. But it leaks back in through the cracks anyway. Watch how the world lines up when it's ready to teach you. The next day, he takes Princess to the park, a place where happiness is loud and legs work without applause. He stands by her chair, pretending to be fine. And across the street, a skinny girl with dust on her ankles and nothing in her stomach watches a black SUV and knows without a doubt the man from her dream is right there. She hesitates because she looks like trouble, and she knows it, then fate lends her a hand. The man turns, meets her eyes, and without a speech or a selfie, hands her food and a folded bill. Eat something, he says, like feeding a stranger is the most normal thing in the world. Pattern interrupt. That small gesture will flip this whole story on its head later. Keep it in your back pocket. She takes the food, whispers thank you, and right as he turns away, courage tugs her sleeve. Sir, she calls, voice shaky but stubborn. I can make your daughter walk. If it were you, what would you have done? Laugh, get in the car, or listen. The driver scoffs. The guards stiffen. This is a city where caution isn't paranoia, it's survival. But the girl keeps going. She saw them in a dream. She was meant to meet them here. And then the strange thing. Princess opens the door and says quietly, I think I saw her too. The park hushes in my memory, like even the birds wanted to hear the next sentence. Chief Peter studies this girl. Dirt on her skin, dignity in her eyes, and chooses. He lets her in the car. At the gate, the guards search her like they should. They find a torn notebook and a spare wrapper. No knife, no trick. She just points to the garden like she's following a map only she can see. Here comes the first twist. The cure is not in Switzerland or a sterile lab with blue lights and white coats. It is growing behind his house in a low bush by the fence the gardeners trim without thinking. Amaka kneels, fingers gentle in the soil, and lifts a thick, reddish root like she's retrieving something precious. This will make her walk, she says. The air changes. The family doctor is a storm of reasons and warnings. We need tests. We need 48 hours. We need the right forms. Princess, bless this brave girl, says softly, we've waited 17 years. If we wait longer, I might lose the courage. It isn't dramatic. It's just true. Amaka boils the root in a spotless pot, the steam smelling like earth and medicine. She sips it first. If it's poison, I die before she does, she says. Then Princess drinks half a glass, no shaking or theatrics, just a long yawn. And sleep sweeps in. Stick around because what happened next will blow your mind. The waiting is the unglamorous part people skip, but it's where the work is. Day 1. Princess sleeps more than she wakes. The doctor mutters about stability and unknowns. Guards pass messages in whispers. The maids carry plates like it's Sunday morning, and the house is a church. Chief Peter checks her breathing every 30 minutes, pacing like he can outwalk fear. Amaka sits by the garden fountain, with her knees pulled up, and says nothing. If you've ever had to hold your own name steady while a room measures you with doubt, you know that silence, the way you swallow every defense and let time speak for you. Day 2. The mansion turns into a museum. Everyone is present and nobody touches anything. Princess murmurs that in her dreams she's running through a field and the sun is warm. Don't tease me, her father says. I wouldn't, she answers, and he believes her because he wants to and because he knows her. Day 3. Her body warms, not fever, just a quiet hum. The doctor says it's not necessarily bad. That word, necessarily, hangs in the air like a gnat you can't swat. Peter walks past Amaka without speaking because he doesn't know how to be grateful and angry at the same time. She lets him have that. Pride needs a corner to defend when it has nothing else to do. Now hear me on this. Miracles rarely kick the door in. They slip through the hinge and change the room from the inside. Princess wakes, blinks, stares at her legs. My feet are warm, she says. I know that sounds small, but when your feet have always felt like two quiet stones, warmth is a revolution. Peter drops to his knees and touches her skin like a man testing daylight. He looks at Amaka. She doesn't grin. She nods once. Here's the mid-story twist, and it isn't another character or a car crash. It's a truth that flips the frame. Peter asks, "Why my garden? Why here? Why now?" And Amaka says, "Your garden has the plant, yes. But that's not the price. The price was already paid." He frowns. She reminds him. The food he handed a stranger in the park. That was the seed. Kindness opens doors no key can find. Do you think that's fair? That a miracle hangs on a small mercy, not a big check? Or does that bother you a little? Tell me in the comments, because I've wrestled it both ways. Morning breaks that will live on their calendars forever. 7:42 a.m. The nurse shouts his name and the house goes electric. Princess sits up fast, breathing like someone surfacing from deep water. "I need to stand," she says. The nurse tries to stop her, fails because willpower has been training for this longer than her legs. She swings her feet over the side. Toes, sole heel. Marble, that never knew her weight, is suddenly asked to hold it. She shakes yes, but she stands. Then one step, and another. And if you're not crying yet, you're stronger than me. Chief Peter runs, sees her moving toward him. And I swear I have never watched a man with that much power look that soft. He drops to the floor, covers his face, sobs like a boy who got his life back. My God," he says, not as a quote, but as a reflex. The house erupts. Maids laughing and weeping, guards pushing to the doorway, then stepping back because the moment feels holy, the doctor folding into a chair, whispering, "This isn't science, not like an insult, more like a confession." Outside, Amaka sits where she has sat the whole time in the garden, hands quiet in her lap. Peter runs to her, still half in prayer, half in disbelief. "She's walking," he says. "I know," Amaka answers, calm like a lake on a windless day. "You did it," he says. "No," she says, "you did." He blinks confused, then remembers the food. That's when it clicks. The miracle didn't start in the pot. It started in the park. That's the twist. That's the knife that turns. A few days later, cameras, microphones, the whole spectacle, but the mood is different. It isn't a product launch or a charity gala. It feels like court, the good kind, where truth stands up. Princess walks onto the stage in soft shoes. She picked herself, no wheels anywhere. Peter stands beside her, and Amaka hand resting on Amaka's shoulder, like a promise and a shield. He tells it plain. South Africa, Switzerland, the United States. Money spent like water. Brilliance everywhere, results nowhere. And then a girl the city called a witch, who asked for nothing and gave back everything. She is not a witch, he says. She is not a curse, she is a gift. Pattern interrupt. Feel that sting when a lie dies in public. Amaka steps to the mic. If you wanted polish, sorry. If you wanted honesty, you're about to eat well. She says she didn't grow up in mansions, didn't finish school, didn't ask for dreams that land like orders. She says they threw her out, made her sleep by market walls, called her names until the names stuck to her shadow. And she survived. Then she looks right into the cameras, like she's looking into our living rooms, and says, "If you've ever been rejected, abandoned, labeled by fear, this is for you. You are not a curse. You are not invisible. Your voice matters." The room stands. People clap and cry at the same time because truth does that when it shows up without perfume. You'd think we roll credits here, but satisfying endings ask for more courage, not less. Peter keeps his word. He clears her name in the press. He offers school quietly, like an apology to the future. He sets up a foundation, not with her as a mascot, but as a partner. A place for kids who don't fit the mold, who carry bright maps no one else can read yet. One night on the rooftop terrace, city lights breathing around them, he says, "I want to do more." She says, "You've done enough." He says, "I'm not done," and lists houses and cars and numbers like he's flipping through a toolbox. She listens and asks for one thing, the only thing she's ever wanted. "I want my name back." Not riches, not fame, just the truth loud enough to drown the lies that almost broke her. He nods. Finally, a deal that makes sense. Back in her village, small bars tune the news up high. The same mouths that spit her name now shape it carefully. "Isn't that the girl who walked barefoot?" They ask. I always knew she was special, which is how shame covers its tracks when it doesn't want to apologize. Her stepmother sits quiet on the porch because the old story can't carry her anymore. Amaka moves into a modest apartment paid for by the foundation, takes classes, walks across a world that once spit at her feet with her head a little higher. Princess visits, and they talk like sisters about nothing and everything. Clothes, homework, the kind of boys you're not sure you like, books that make you feel less alone. One afternoon, a mother brings a boy with a limp eyes swollen from sleepless nights and begs. Amaka kneels to meet his eyes and says the plainest promise there is, "I'll try." That's it. No thunder. Just room for grace. So what is this story really about once you strip out the marble and the market dust? Two questions I can't stop asking. First, what if the cures we hunt are sometimes hiding where we've learned not to look? In gardens no one studies, in people we've labeled, in the quiet mercies we give when no one is watching. Are we brave enough to search there, or do we only trust what comes with a brand and a brochure? Second, who gets to decide what counts as real? A girl with dreams and herbs gets called a witch. A man with degrees gets called an expert even when he shrugs. I'm not knocking science. Science is a miracle too. I'm asking if there's room at the table for truths that don't fit our favorite timeline, especially when those truths belong to people we'd rather not see. Do you think that's fair? Should reputation be the gate to credibility, or should results speak for themselves? Here's one last pattern interrupt. At the press conference, someone asked Peter how much the cure cost, looking for a number they could argue about. He tried to explain, and they kept pushing, so he said a food box in a park. People laughed, because we don't trust simple answers. But tell me that isn't the most accurate invoice you've ever heard, so I'll leave you with this. If it were you, would you have let that girl into your car? Would you have listened when her words came without a business card? And if you were Amaka, would you have spoken up after everything they called you? Be honest. Don't play polite. Tell me what scares you about this story. What makes you angry, where you think I'm wrong, and what I missed. Has a stranger's kindness ever changed your life? Or have you ever written someone off and been proven gloriously wrong? If this hit you even a little tap, like So It Travels, share it with someone who's been labeled and dismissed, and subscribe, because this won't be the last time a quiet truth upends a loud lie. Drop your thoughts below, argue with me if you have to, and tell your own story. The one where you were underestimated, the one where you almost gave up, the one where a small kindness changed everything. I read every single comment. Your voice matters here.